Ever felt like you don't quite belong anywhere? Like every place you go, something inside you remains restless, always searching. That's the essence of the wanderer archetype, a figure woven into myth, history, and the fabric of our psyche is. Today, we're embarking on a journey to explore why that restlessness exists, what it reveals about our deepest yearnings, and how embracing it can unlock freedom, purpose, and belonging in unexpected ways. Imagine a nomad under a vast starlit sky, carrying only what he needs, moving toward horizons he cannot yet see. There's vulnerability there, but also an immense kind of liberation. The wanderer doesn't reject home, he values the journey itself. This archetype has existed since the dawn of human consciousness. Odysseus longing for Ithaca, Siddhartha leaving the palace, Thoreau escaping to Walden, Kerouac hitchhiking across America. Each of them knew. To wander is to question, to explore inner landscapes, to find meaning beyond walls and expectations. We all carry this archetype in us, whether in spirit or soul. Even the most rooted among us have moments when the walls feel too tight, routines feel hollow, and comfort becomes stagnation. That's the wanderer stirring inside, asking, what if there's more? Where am I headed next? To understand this archetype is to understand our modern spiritual disquiet, the pull towards self-discovery, and the craving for authentic experiences over empty comforts. Let's ground this in myth. In ancient Ireland, travelers told tales of the wild geese warriors with no country, seeking a home that could never hold them. In each poem and legend, the land called to them, but deeper still, it was the call to transcend. In Native American traditions, tricksters and wanderers roam across boundaries, testing the rules, teaching rebirth through dislocation. The spiritual journey is often a physical one, because the body makes us question where the real home lies. Psychologists call this aspect of human nature the existential nomadism. It's not about literal migration that rests on losing simple certainty. It's about distrusting easy answers and refusing to settle for shallow belonging. Trusting in the journey, embracing the unknown, and daring to explore both external world and inner cosmos. That's why so many of us feel homeless inside, even when we're surrounded by family, possessions, stability. We feel anchored and adrift at once. That tension is the fuel of creativity. Think of artists, writers, entrepreneurs who live in self-imposed exile, chasing innovation or deeper questions. The wanderer doesn't fit standard molds, and that misfit energy can be both curse and catalyst. But there's a shadow side. Without awareness, the wanderer becomes perpetual exile, never resting, always dissatisfied, always chasing the next place, image, identity. He avoids commitment, detests routine, and fears settling down. Markets and marriages become prisons, friendships feel shallow. The question then becomes, how do we honor the call to wander without losing peace? How do we integrate the need for movement with the need for roots? The answer lies in learning from those who balanced both. Joseph Campbell studied mythic journeys, yet emphasized returning home, integrating the journey's lessons into life. He called it the hero's journey. He departs, he undergoes transformation, and he returns. Lucille Ball once said, "Home is where one starts from." But that home is not always a place. It's a state of being formed by values, self-knowledge, and inner clarity. Let's dive deeper into real stories. Consider Cheryl Strayed, who walked the Pacific Crest Trail alone, miles of solitude and pain, to heal from grief and addiction. At the end, she realized that the journey didn't give her home, it gave her herself. Or think of Icelandic wander artists who circle the globe only to return home, changed, knowing that home is not a dot on a map, but a conversation happening within. What about the spiritual dimension? Mystic poets like Rumi described the heart as a beloved that must wander before it finds its true home in love. The Desert Fathers sought solitude and discovered presence. Their wandering wasn't escapism, it was pilgrimage. Even religion frames this archetype. The soul wandering through lifetimes, civilizations, rebirths, until it recognizes that home is less about space and more about presence. What does this archetype reveal about you? If you feel like you're always seeking, maybe you belong to the wandering clan deep within. That impulse to roam, to test, to explore is your soul's language. It doesn't make you broken, it makes you attuned to mysteries. Your role might not be to settle, but to question, to expand, to transform. But there's more. This archetype can be a bridge, not a barrier. When we learn to dwell in both movement and stillness, the path becomes both home and horizon. Trust the rhythm. Move, pause, integrate, adapt. Let your heart grow roots even as your steps wander. Let your ideas stretch and your soul settle in purpose. Now, I ask, are you ready to embrace your inner wanderer, not to flee, but to expand? Are you open to knowing that the journey is your home and your home is your journey? There's an ancient truth buried in every culture's stories of the wanderer. It's the idea that the further you go from home, the closer you get to the truth of yourself. The physical landscape reflects the inner landscape. When the roads grow strange, when faces are unfamiliar, the illusions you carried begin to unravel. The world becomes a mirror, and you're forced to see who you are without your titles, your routines, or your expectations. In Eastern philosophy, this is known as detachment. To detach not in apathy, but in clarity, understanding that identity formed by circumstance is temporary. The Tao Te Ching reminds us, those who wander are not lost, those who find comfort in discomfort have found peace. The spiritual path is rarely one of staying still. Even in meditation, the mind roams. The soul wanders through memory and imagination, only to settle back into awareness. Carl Jung believed the archetype of the wanderer symbolized the search for the self. He noted that modern society pressures people to over-identify with roles: parent, professional, citizen, consumer. Yet deep inside, the unconscious knows this isn't the whole story. The wanderer emerges in our dreams, our discontent, our spontaneous decisions to quit jobs, move cities, leave relationships. It whispers, remember who you are beyond the script. That's why today, in a world hyperconnected and yet deeply alienating, the archetype resurfaces stronger than ever. Millions experience existential homelessness. We switch careers, chase dopamine hits online, consume experiences, yet feel emptier. The wanderer's gift is that it forces us to confront this modern malaise. It challenges the belief that external stability equals inner peace. It asks, if you had to leave it all behind, what part of you would survive? And it's not about physical wandering alone. Emotional, intellectual, and spiritual wandering matter just as much. You can be a wanderer of ideas, exploring ancient texts, radical philosophies, forbidden questions. You can be a wanderer of emotions, delving into grief, joy, fear, and awe without judgment. You can be a wanderer of spirit, questioning inherited beliefs and seeking personal gnosis. The danger comes when we confuse wandering with running away. True wandering is intentional. It seeks understanding, not escape. The fool runs from responsibility, the wanderer moves toward meaning. That's why in myth, the hero's path involves trials, not because the world is cruel, but because hardship carves wisdom. It strips away false comforts so the core self can emerge. This is what makes the wanderer archetype timeless and vital today. In a society obsessed with optimization, branding, and permanence, the wanderer reminds us that life is impermanent, identity is fluid, and peace comes not from control, but surrender. The cynics called it freedom. The Stoics called it virtue. The Buddhists call it liberation. It's the recognition that belonging isn't about finding the perfect place, but about cultivating equanimity wherever you are. Consider the wisdom of Diogenes, the cynic philosopher who lived in a barrel. He mocked society's attachment to possessions, status, and false virtue. In his rejection of social norms, he embodied the wanderer's defiance. He proved that to be free, one must detach from the illusion of needing to belong. And yet, Diogenes wasn't bitter, he was joyful. His laughter was a weapon against hypocrisy. His simplicity was a rebellion. This paradox, that wandering leads to grounding, is what makes this archetype so rich. We think belonging comes from finding a perfect tribe, a fixed identity, a flawless home. But history, psychology, and myth suggest the opposite. Belonging arises when we stop demanding the world conform to our expectations, and instead find peace in our evolving nature. When you embrace the wanderer within, you stop chasing approval. You listen to the quiet voice asking uncomfortable questions. You accept that sometimes you will be misunderstood, and that's a sign you're growing. You realize your loyalty lies not with comfort, but with truth. And truth is often inconvenient. In practical life, this might look like choosing solitude over shallow connection, leaving a well-paid job that robs your soul, moving to a place where you know no one but feel strangely alive, reading obscure philosophers while your peers scroll headlines. It means finding rituals that ground you amid uncertainty, journaling, meditation, long walks under moonlight, writing letters you'll never send. You create home inside yourself, not outside. And the beautiful irony is, when you do this, when you stop demanding the world make you feel at home, it begins to feel more like home. You meet fellow wanderers in unexpected places. You find joy in simplicity, power in authenticity. You learn that belonging isn't about fitting in, but about standing true in your uniqueness. The archetype of the wanderer teaches us that the world is both map and mirror. Every journey outward reflects a movement inward. And even when lost, you are never truly lost. The horizon isn't your enemy, it's your invitation. So now, I leave you with this. Have you embraced your inner wanderer? Or are you still clinging to a home that was never truly yours? What journey is calling you right now? A place, a question, a truth you've long avoided? Share it in the comments. Let's map these invisible roads together. Your path awaits.